Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's press conference. It is Rivalry Week. The Military Classic of the South will take place on Saturday in Lexington, Virginia. Kickoff at 12 o'clock. Here to talk about the Bulldogs, head coach Brent Thompson.
Thank you, John. Just wanted to start out by touching on a couple of things from last weekend that we needed to get done in order to get to this weekend. And we obviously know that it was important for us to, number one, get the win. Number two was to send our seniors out and our fifth and sixth year guys out with a win at Johnson Haygood Stadium, which we did. And then the last thing that we wanted to accomplish-wise was to get some of our younger guys in so that way some of our older guys can rest a little bit and get ready for the VMI game. So we got the win. We were able to play a lot of younger guys. We were able to take some guys that hadn't used their 4 games in the redshirt year and use those guys, and it was good to see some of those guys get out there and play. We also saw some older guys that hadn't had a chance to play, some older scout team guys that had a chance to play, so that was good. And then our number one concern was just making sure that we came out healthy, which we did. So now we turn our focus to the VMI game. VMI is a team that's a lot like us as far as their season has gone. They have lost their quarterbacks. They've been down to the third-string quarterback. They've taken some injuries on the offensive line, the defensive line, and when you're already kind of thin, fairly similar to what we are at times, it can drastically affect your season. I think that's what's happened to them. They've had some bad luck. They've had some, they had a really good class that graduated last year, and they're just kind of in one of those cycles. But still a very good team. They've got some very good players. And I do know this, is that those guys will be ready to play in this particular game. They love to play for the Shaco just as much as we do, and we've got to understand that. And it is our goal to come back and return with the Shaco in our hands. Questions?
Did you notice a difference in the guys coming off a win in the Sunday practice as opposed to the last couple of weeks?
Absolutely. That was the one thing at the end of practice that I said. I said it didn't matter that who we won, who we beat, what the score was. It was just a matter that we did win. And going out, the practice felt a lot better. Having the practice felt a lot better. We did change our practice format a little bit because I thought we needed to kind of gain an extra day as much as possible because we do have to travel to VMI. So we changed our format to where we took our preseason game plan and kind of installed it yesterday. So that has something to do with it as well. We're not just going out there doing special teams drills like we typically do.
And we talked about last week a little bit, making sure y'all didn't overlook this Lynchburg team. It's pretty clear you didn't. Kind of, what did you like from a mentality or motivation standpoint? And y'all, too, not letting up. I think 21 points even through the fourth quarter.
Well, I love the way that we played defense. Other than maybe that first drive in there where we kind of got off track a little bit and we ended up being all right at the end of the drive. I like the way that we played all day long on defense. I thought we played solid. We got some real good turnovers. We pressured the quarterback fairly well. Offensively, they got our attention a little bit with just the different schematics on defense that we had to adjust to. So what I really liked on the offensive side was just our ability to be able to run things and do things that we may not have prepared for or planned for. And that was kind of the plan going in, is we don't know what we're going to get, so we're just going to have to make some adjustments on the run. We got to make sure that we have everything, as far as our rules were concerned, finely tuned to make sure that we can adjust at halftime, which was nice to see. We had some younger guys and some older guys be able to make those adjustments at halftime.
Specifically, what about VMI troubles you or is going to be an issue for you guys?
Well, number one, it's the environment up there. Is they've got a pretty good environment. They've got the core is usually rowdy, especially rowdy for this game. It'll be probably the coldest game that we've played all year long. It's a 7-hour road trip for us. They do get up for this football game. They still have a very good quarterback. They've got a good offensive system. They've got some even though they're down some defensive linemen, they've still got some plenty good defensive players, including the linebackers. They got solid linebackers in there. So more than anything, I think it's the rivalry itself. It's the way that the two teams play and interact that probably scares you the most. It's truly a rivalry game for us.
And you talk about a rivalry. Knowing a team like this hasn't won in the conference, does that change anything for you, just knowing that this game is maybe bigger for them?
Yeah, it is. But, this will make our season, too. We're not having the greatest of all seasons either. I told the guys yesterday that it's going to make or break both of our seasons. We're going to feel a lot better coming off of a win going into the off season and retaining the Shako, just as they will as well. And I think in this game in particular, you just throw the records out. We've been we were 8-0 going into this game, and we're 7-0 in the conference going into this game, and I was nervous that year because it's the last game of the year. It was the last game of the year that year. It was up there. You just don't know what they're going to throw at you, and they don't know what we're going to throw at them. So that's what makes it exciting, I guess.
Talk a little bit about the Saturday. What you saw obviously a lot of good things, but what really kind of jumped out at you offensively and defensively?
Well, offensively, the two guys that jumped out at me, and both guys, we've seen it. We haven't been able to get them in the game just because there's been some sort of deficiency in one part of their game or another part of their game, or just somewhere along the line of the learning curve. Is Hakeem Monroe goes in there for one play, and I say, I don't think he's ever run that play in practice. I just kind of said, hey, this is what we need you to do on this. I need to draw you up in the dirt right here. And when he got in the open field, you could see how fast he truly is, and that was the reason why he was recruited here. He's got really good speed. JJ, we've got out of the Naval Academy Prep School in the summertime. We recruited JJ out of high school, so we knew where he was. But he's another guy who's kind of caught behind a few older guys at the A-back position, had opportunities to score twice, gets some really good speed on the field, and was able to break for 2 touchdowns, which was nice, one receiving and then one on the run that I truly didn't expect him to go on. It was just a zone option play that he had caught with pretty good speed going downhill. Defensively, we were able to play some of our younger defensive linemen in there, which gave those older guys a little bit of a break. Jay Smith's been playing a lot of football. We don't really need to see him much anymore. So we were able to get Jordan Marks in there, who's been a solid backup right now, or a third-team guy that we're getting some reps in there too. So Phil Collins is another guy that got more reps in there that has not an opportunity to play. And then we're able to mix out some of our linebackers and get Saul Diaz in for Kyler and move some guys around a little bit, some guys that are going to have to play for us a lot in the future because we do graduate now quite a few. Now, our biggest missing piece on the defensive side was Destin Mack, and he'll be back this week, but I thought Melvin Ravenel stepped in and did a really good job with him.
Definitely a good rushing game. It looked like, I think, 5 or 6 different guys had rushing touchdowns. I think Braden had 2. Kind of, what does that show you for the future? I think a couple of those were freshmen. You talked about one of them.
We do. We have some good young depth. We recruited those guys last year, and part of this whole redshirting process was being able to hold those guys until the final 3 or 4 games, because you don't know. If you play those guys early, you don't know what kind of depth and attrition you're going to have, kind of like what we had at the B-back position. But Braden's a guy that hasn't played a whole lot until this season, and he's gotten his opportunity. He's done really well with his opportunity in there. But what I love about Braden is he's just kind of sat there and awaited his turn and done a nice job with that. And Johnny Crawford played for us quite a bit here this year, and unfortunately we did use his red shirt this year, so he burned it. But we do have some other younger A-backs that are kind of stepping up.
Talk a little about the perimeter blocking, and it wasn't just this game, but I thought against Chattanooga and against Sanford, you guys had been able to block a little bit better on the perimeter. What's been the difference for you?
I think reps and getting used to it. We've had a bunch of guys, when you just all of a sudden you put a rule in place that you're used to just going out there and cut blocking all day long, as well. It's a completely different technique. You're more of a wide receiver than you are a running back out there cutting in space. So you've got to really transition into a stock block than you were a cut block. And all of our guys were trained in cut blocks for so many years. Cooper Wallace has cut blocked for so many years. Nikim Njoku's been one of our best cut blockers for the last 4 or 5 years. Now he's got to go out there and actually stalk somebody, which is a little bit more challenging. And then you got to get used to the speed of it. The speed of, I've said this before, the speed of the defense gets a lot faster downhill when there's no threat of a cut block out there. So you've got to learn to deal with that. And then I do think our play action game has helped out a little bit more, and that's really what it's forced us to be, is a little bit better of a play action team.
I'll be honest, I'm not sure a whole lot about VMI's offense this year. I know a few years ago they kind of switched to more of an air raid. What are they this year? Have they kind of gone back to?
They are,
spread?
yeah, they are. They are fairly similar to a Sanford. They do. They still have number one, Bridal, the running back, who's a very good running back. So they still do put an emphasis on running, but they're spacing routes. They short passing game. They get it out of their hand really quickly, and we've got to play great underneath coverage, and then we've got to be careful when they do max protect and try to take a shot over the top.
Talk about tackling in space, which should be a key then against a defense like that.
Yeah, anytime that you get these teams, and it was really our issue with Sanford, is once they get the ball out, especially to the perimeter, is you've got to be able to triangulate it with your defenders as quickly as possible. And then if you get your one-on-one, as you can see what happened out there a little bit in Sanford, is it can be tough, especially on the sideline when you don't have a whole lot of help. All right, thank you guys.